What's up everyone, this is Asadullah Chaudhary. In today's video lesson, we're going to talk about JavaScript objects. So what is an object? An object could be pretty much anything. I mean, a table is an object, a chair is an object, I'm an object, and you are an object. So let's dive into some more details. Here's another example of an object, which is a car. The car has some properties as well as some methods. The methods are called actions. The object performs some actions. So if you take a careful look at this part, these are some properties: the car name, car model, car weight, and car color. These properties will stay the same if you choose any of the car, but as far as this part is concerned, this part will be different depending upon the type of the car. So in programming languages, we create objects, and objects contain some properties as well as some methods, some actions. So we define the rules so that two or more objects can interact with each other. For example, if you are driving a car, you are interacting with another object, which is a car. So we define different types of rules so that in programming languages, different objects can interact with each other. So now let's go back and open up my text editor to show you some examples. First, I have to create a file, and I have to put this file somewhere in some directory. Let's create a directory first. Let's give it a name: JS Oop English index.html. I need another file, and this will be my JavaScript file, script.js. Let's quickly generate some markup. HTML source script.js. Okay, so on script.js, let's do some examples. So the first example is creating an object using object literal notation. So I have to create a variable. Let's name it person, and scare curly braces, which are used for creating an object. Okay, so the first property is, for example, name, and the name could be anything: John Smith. Email: john@example.com. Some action, which is going to be a function: walk function. Okay, I'm just gonna output something related to this object. How about this name is is walking. Okay, so this is how I can use the object properties. For example, if I want to print the name, this is what I'll simply do. Alert person dot name. Let's check this out in our browser. John Smith, it's working. You can use this property in some different ways as well. I mean, you can access this property same like an array, an associative array. This will give you the same result. Refresh and John Smith. Perfect. So let's suppose you want to create another object. This is person 1, and now you want to create another object for person 2. Person 2. Bob Sapp. He's a fighter. Bob @example.com. If you notice something over here, I wrote 8 lines of code to create an object. And now I'm trying to create another object, and I wrote another times 8 lines. So this is not a good practice. I have to do something so that I can make this code reusable. I can create a factory function that will return me some object. Okay, so now let's remove this part. I'm gonna create an object over here. Sorry, function. Get person object. So what it's gonna do, it will expect two parameters. The first one will be name and the second one will be email. Just to save this time, I'm just gonna put this part over here, and I'm gonna use the return statement. Now I have to remove this part. Just to make it dynamic, I have to replace this part with this name. Let me change the spellings. I don't wanna confuse you actually. Let me change the spellings. Full name, object name, object email, object name, and object email. Perfect. So this function is called the factory function. Now all I have to do is to pass some arguments to this function. Let's suppose I want to create an object var person1 equals to get person object, and the name is going to be John Doe, and the email is john@example.com. Now this single instruction is required to create an object instead of writing 8 lines of code over and over. So now this code is reusable, and this function is called a factory function. So each time this function is called, it expects two parameters and it returns an object. So let me show you the result. Alert person1 dot name. This will simply print the name in an alert box. Refresh, John Doe. And now if I want to create another object, it's pretty simple. I'll simply copy this line just to save the time, paste it over here. Bob, again Bob's app. Person2 alert person2 dot name. Bob's app. It's working. Let's look at some other method as well. Singleton object using new keyword. This is how you can create a singleton object using a new keyword. For example, var person equals to new function. This dot name equals some name. Email equals to email. This dot walk equals to some function. I should copy this code instead. Paste. Now this person object is a singleton object. So let me show you the result. Person dot name. Sorry. At the rate example.com. Person dot name. If I refresh, it's John Doe. It's working. Perfect. You can also create an object using constructor function. For example, creating an object using constructor function. Let's define a constructor function first. function person email, and I'm gonna copy this code and paste it over here. Instead of this part, now I have to use name and email. Var p1 equals to the new of person, and I'm gonna pass Muhammad Ali, and email address is ali@example.com. Alert p1 dot, this time I should call this method p1 dot walk. Oh, sorry, p1 dot walk. Let's comment this first. Refresh. Muhammad is Muhammad Ali is walking. Perfect. It's working. So now you can create as many objects as you want using this constructor function. Furthermore, you can add up some properties as well, which are not available over here. For example, if you want to add up some extra properties in p1 object, so you can simply do p1 dot country equals to USA. So it's pretty simple to print this property, this one, country. Alert p1 dot country. Let's go back and check it out in our browser. Refresh. USA working. So let's create another object of the same type. John, and if I try to print the property this country for this object, it won't work. Alert p2 dot country. This simply won't work because it doesn't have any kind of country property. I mean, I defined the country property over here using p1 object. So this country property belongs to this p1. It has nothing to do with p2. It's a different object. Both of the objects have same type, but this property belongs to p1. It doesn't belong to p2. So let's show you the output. Refresh. You can see it says undefined. So I mean, it's a good thing. You can define properties using the objects, and these properties will not stay the same. If you want to put all the properties in an object like this, so all of these objects will be containing these all the properties. Okay, so What else is remaining? Okay, so what if you want to add some more functions or functions or properties to an object? How are you gonna do that? Actually, we have that control as well. For example, currently this person constructor has name, email, and this walk method. Two properties, name, email, and the third one is walk method. So you want to add up another property to this object so that that property can be accessible by the other objects as well, unlike this one p2. I mean, here you can see p2 cannot access this property because the country property does not belong to p2. The country property belongs to p1. So it's a difference over here. So if you want to add up any extra properties or functions to an existing objects, so we have the control for this. So what is that? Always remember, whenever you are using a constructor function to create an object, so all the constructor functions has a prototype. A prototype is also an object. So all the constructor functions inherit some properties from their prototype. For example, if I want to add some extra property like country to this object, so all I have to do is to write person dot prototype dot country equals to null, or I can say USA. It's an initial value. If I don't assign any of the value to this property, this will be the initial value. Or I can say I think it's fine. So let's try this. Okay, so the first alert box will be printing the value of P1 country, and the second one will be printing the value of P2 country. So currently I'm gonna comment this line. So currently the default value is USA. Let's try this. Refresh. I think there's an error. Country of undefined. At what line? On line number 10. If I go back and check my line number 10, person dot prototype. I misspelled that. To type, it's prototype. I misspelled that. That's why it wasn't working. Refresh. USA for P1. Okay. USA for P2. Perfect. So now I have the control to change the override this value as well. What I mean to say is, let's change this. Let's assign some other value to this property using P2. P2 dot country equals to United Kingdom. So now you'll see as in a result, P1 will be printing USA, and I use P2, and P2 will have the different value, which is United Kingdom. Refresh. USA, and then United Kingdom. So this is it for this tutorial. So hope you like it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So if you have any question, you can contact me. You can leave a comment, or you can subscribe to my Facebook group. All right then. Take care. Bye bye.